If you've ever been an artistic type, or I guess not even an artistic type, but if you've ever been on Instagram where you're trying to like be productive or just get healthier, you've always heard the idea of, oh, you should journal. And I've been journaling for on and off about 30-ish journal entries in this book. Either I just journal first thing in the morning, and so I just write down a bunch of nonsense as a way to not hop on my phone immediately and actually have some creative juices kind of flowing around in the head, or just original thoughts where I can actually think about things that are happening in my life and make decisions and make conclusions with things spinning around in the upstairs area. Or sometimes if I'm really feeling overburdened, I'll kind of write stuff down, and I'll write it. And this is going to sound weird and lame, or not lame, because I'm not lame. I'm cool, actually. You're lame. This is going to sound weird, wacky, and maybe even narcissistic to some extent. But sometimes the way that I want to write a journal entry is as if I'm writing a book, okay, in like a novel-like way. And I find that kind of helps me with formulating thoughts and coming to conclusions and turning emotions and raw feelings into takeaways. It's kind of like taking a bunch of feelings, turning it into a myth, and then using that myth or story as something to embed a truth in. This is like a bit of a like old school Jordan Peterson talking point, and I mean old school in the fact of when he was a psychology professor at University of Toronto and wasn't a off-the-rocker dude on Ben Shapiro's media network. But one thing that he taught about in one of his lectures that are up online on his channel somewhere, Maps of Meaning or something like that, was the idea that these stories of creation, mythological stories from like Greek mythology, even like biblical stories, these are all ways that humanity has embedded fundamental truths. And so there's archetypal stories like Adam and Eve, or the creation story, which is kind of related to Adam and Eve. But there's all these different types of stories, like Icarus, flying too close to the sun. These are the ways that people embed truths about the nature of our world, the nature of our experience. And this is why these stories propagate for centuries and beyond civilizations, is because they are in some ways more true than just stating didactically like a textbook of when you're feeling down in the dumps, you should go outside and you should run. And my personal view on that is there aren't really a lot of truths that kind of apply to all people. A lot of the time, the thing that's the most true for you is the thing that speaks most to your experience and the way that you view life. And I think a story leaves the perfect amount of room for abstraction and for interpretation for you to take away like a fundamental truth that is embedded in there somewhere and then map it on to how you experience your life. The best way that I can think of describing this is for all you math nerds out there. Let's imagine like a vector space. Let's imagine some space, all right? And then we put an object in there. Let's say that we put like an arrow in there, and we say that like this arrow is just like, you can turn it all sorts of ways, but at the end of the day, it's still that arrow. Imagine if that arrow is a fundamental truth of reality. Now, the way that truth, that arrow maps onto your life can be twisted and turned around in all sorts of directions. You can stretch that arrow, you can rotate it even more, but at the end of the day, it's still that fundamental arrow that you were starting with. If I have an arrow that's like this, and then I extend it like that much, and then I rotate it by like 270 degrees pointing that way, I can still make it like it's still the same arrow that I started with. Anyway, I was trying to describe in more simplistic language like vectors in a vector space and transformations that you can do on it. But at the end of the day, it's still like the same. Like if you take a unit vector, you can transform it by like applying rotation matrices and all these sorts of things, but at the end of the day, it's still the same thing that you're talking about. You know what I mean? Anyway, that probably made zero sense. I may or may not cut that out, or I might just leave it in to show that, yes, I did get a degree in physics in university. How can you tell? All of that is to say that sometimes in journaling, I find that the best thing isn't just writing about your day plainly, but sometimes what's best about it is writing it in a way that's more of a story. You kind of take the experiences that you lived, you map it onto something that's more fundamental, I guess. I don't really know the full words. I haven't really thought out fully why writing it in a story. Jesus, there's like people screaming. I don't know if that picks up on audio. There's people screaming outside. Sounds like they need to journal. That's kind of distracting. I feel like I need to close the window. Yikes. Anyways, yeah, now it's pretty much completely silent. There we go. Problem's fixed. Hey, some sort of argument going on? Just close your windows. Just block it out. But anyway, yes, there is some value in just like straight up writing your day, your experience, journaling in the very literal sense of like, today I went to the park and I felt kind of bad. And then I was thinking about how I dropped my phone in water today. And then I realized I felt bad because I dropped my phone in water. But at the end of the day, a phone is just a phone. Life still goes on. The end. That is good. That's useful. Sometimes that is very helpful. But in those times where you write that down and you're like, I didn't fucking learn a thing about myself, I didn't take away anything from this, then write your experience down as a story, and that might help. And I think one thing that I should start doing on this channel more is just opening up a little bit more about myself, putting myself out there. I already use my name on this channel, so hello, welcome, this is me. So I'll just read an example. This was July 18th, 2025 at 11:53 p.m. This was a Friday night. So, listen, Friday night, things get a little kooky. They get a little scary, a little crazy. And I think this day I was helping someone with a pretty important case. Particularly, I guess I talk about it. I don't talk about it in detail, but let's just say I was outside of the Supreme Court family law. That sounds very serious. It's not that serious, guys. Anyway, but yeah. So I started off, I'm just going to read it. I'm not going to provide any more background. I'm just going to read it. Not sure how much longer I can do this for. I'm starting to lose the meaning in things. Job search isn't fruitful so far, and I'm feeling lost on the online content creation side of things. That's this stuff. I need to pick up the effort, I think. I need to work harder, I think. I need to get back into a routine, I think. I need to do anything else but this right now. I don't know. Maybe if I journal and romanticize my own hardship, I'll be able to make something good out of it. I feel like I need to change everything. I feel like I need a fresh start. I walked outside the Supreme Court family law today and saw an old Asian guy sitting on the side of the road, denim jeans, a black t-shirt, slightly smelled of cigarettes, slightly greased hair, flipping through a filed affidavit. He was flipping faster than he can process the headings on the page. It looked as if he was counting every page, flipping through like counting cash at the end of a shift. In him, in that moment, I saw a fresh start. There was what looked like a freedom in his eyes. I could see him walking into the courtroom on trial date, sitting down, listening to a person he used to love at some point accuse him of the most heinous crimes against humanity for days on end, and when finally asked to plead his case, just says, sure. Accepting whatever sentence given to him, just looking the judge in the eyes, waiting for when he could just leave. Then he'd walk outside those doors, breathe in the slightly cold air, and feel in himself a salvation from himself, like he was born again. I could see this in him and thought to myself that I wish that could be me. So I wrote that, and I didn't write anything else. That's probably something that you can, at the time I was like, I kind of want to add more to this, but it was late at night, and I was like, I think I've just written what I need to write. But in writing that, and that is kind of my own thoughts. I didn't really make like an entirely fictional story, but I thought of a fictional story at the time from looking at him. And after I wrote that down, the thing that I thought was, in looking at this guy, and if I was actually experiencing his life, I'm sure I would hate my life even more than I do right now. I'd be like, this sucks, going through like, family law, court proceedings, a divorce, I can only presume, or something else like that. That is horrible. Going through all that legal jargon, dealing with all the fees and legal counsel. It's a horrible situation. But for some reason, I found so much comfort in thinking about the fact that after that was over for him, then he could just restart his life like brand new. And for some reason, I thought that was exclusive to him, but it was like out of reach for me. But the thing is that after I wrote that, I kind of realized the ridiculousness of that thought to begin with, which is kind of the good thing about journaling or writing down your thoughts, is that you really kind of turn these abstract blips that pop into your mind into actual concrete structured things that you can break down and understand and communicate to other people. And in writing it down, I kind of realized like I'm seeing this escape in this person who totally, like, if I was living his life, I'd be like, this is horrible. And this kid who's walking by me thinking that, I live such a cool life is actually just a stupid idiot and that I wish that I could live his life. But it kind of made me realize that I guess that I have a false sense of what I can do with my life. And I have a false idea that I'm trapped into these sorts of things and that there really is no escape for me. And the only escape is to literally be legally taken away from, legally stripped of like half of my belongings and to just start brand new like that. When in reality, it doesn't have to get to that point. I can just start anew that day. I can start anew right now if I really wanted to. I could. I literally could. I kind of do have the flexibility and the freedom of that right now as well. But yeah, writing that stuff down in a journal entry, kind of more in a storyish form. Just imagining if you're writing a book and the book is from the first person perspective and the book is like a stream of consciousness, false narrator type of book. Sometimes that can help. Reading over it again, that kind of helped as well. Reading that just shifted the whole vibe of this video, huh? Now this video is negative vibes. No, it's not. It's still very positive vibes, but it's just like it's kind of like it's like when the comedian's doing stand-up comedy and then they get like they sit in the chair and they're like, now this world really does need some help, or something like that. This bottle is going to fall if I don't do anything about it. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. I think that's it. You understood the point of that. I don't need to do a summary or a conclusion. I don't need to wrap this up. I don't need to summarize my thoughts for you. If you didn't understand what the past unedited 18 minutes of footage was like, edited, I presume it'll be like 16 minutes. If you didn't understand any of that and you want like a summary of it, just rewatch the entire video from start to finish, because it's not my responsibility to communicate my ideas in a clear and organized manner towards you. Okay? It's not like I'm the one making the video that I want people to watch. Okay? Anyway, am I just going to keep rambling? Maybe let's make this 20 minutes, guys. Let's make this video 20 minutes. Can we make this video 20 minutes? Also, I'm recording this video right after the last video that I recorded, so I'm going to look the exact same. Everything's going to look the exact same, actually. I didn't really think this through. Usually I have like the cute little, the color. Usually the color is different, so it feels like it's a different video. But now it's not. I should have changed my shirt and then changed the color of the audio that's being recorded. You guys want to see something cool? Look at that. It's a full spectrum now. Whoa, that's kind of a cool visual. Oh, you know what? Maybe I can experiment with stuff like that. And look, you can even see specific frequencies. Ooh, you can see like how it breaks down. Ooh. Oh, I even have a tuner here. You can even kind of see it. I don't know if you can see it, but let's do a Charlie Puth. Let's try to hit C. C. That was A sharp. C. That was C. C. Let's try to hit a G. G. That's F. I'm close. G. I was close. That's it. Oh, I should. Okay. Anyway, I'm wasting your time now. I'm dragging this video out. That's pretty cool. Can I get away? There we go. Anyway, I'm done.